It's actually becoming mind-blowing. And it isn't just me that sees. The synchronicities, whoo, God winks. Little signs or messages. Sometimes to warn you of something, sometimes to confirm something, and sometimes when they are just back to back to back to let you know, hey, my child, good job. You're right on track. And I cannot explain the level of synchronicities. Not only are they undeniable, but lately they've become basically instant. Although I'm the one who's noticing them most often because they're mine, there are two people that are catching on three that are catching on just as much to them when they occur. That is my dad. My dad is seeing it more. In fact, he's found it to become a very fun game. My mom and Uncle Mike even. Yeah, you heard it. Even Uncle Mike, man who never listens to me. The man that I could tell him something 10 times, 15 times, and every single time it's brand new. He is the walking, talking human Etch-a-Sketch, yo. Even he has noticed these two. Let me name a few. Last weekend, not this one, but the weekend before, we took my parents on a trip to Boise to go see their favorite comedian. On the drive up, I started to explain synchronicities are happening all of the time. Once I explained to my dad what that was, well, he knew. Let the games begin. My dad and I have always been singers, musicians. He plays the guitar, classical guitar. He is good. He plays some rock and roll too. And I'm a singer, always have been. And I also play the piano. Anywho, when I road trip, I love music. Uncle Mike doesn't. It's weird. But with my parents in the car, I gotta play DJ. And I played a bunch of old favorites of ours, and away we went. One of those songs was Into the Mystic by Van Morrison. I love that song. But I was trying to explain to my dad how this song has always reminded me since high school of my grandma, his mom. She died when I think I was in 8th grade. So he was like, oh, really? I think it's the part where it says, I want to rock your gypsy soul. Because my grandma to me was always a gypsy. Anyways, Into the Mystic was something we really focused on. During our drive, we started talking about memories and how my mom never allowed us to watch Three's Company. She did not like the story theme. A boy should not live with two girls. And there's other stuff. I lived a very sheltered life. Three's Company, right? Check. Dad and I were in the mall. Mike was walking ahead with my mom talking, and my dad and I were talking. My dad and I are like this, and we have the same big squishy heart, the same sense of humor, and the same brain. My dad is an absolute genius as well. We see the world differently. I'm a chip off the old buck. He was joking, saying, how do you say pencil in Spanish again? I don't remember. Is it le plus, le pli, le pepe, le pew? That is a word I haven't heard in a long time, Pepe Le Pew. We go to the concert maybe 3 hours later, or the comedy show, and the very first comedian to come out, what does he say? He starts talking about Pepe Le Pew. Oh, my dad turned to me so quick, like, what? I said, That is where the passion sparked. My dad started watching for synchronicities. On the drive back, we were talking about our trip to Yellowstone as children. And how my brothers locked me out of the little cabin we were in and told me there was a grizzly bear out there. Ah, they were fun. And we also had found a scratch on a tree that was very fresh, and the tour guide said, oof, that is maybe a day old. And then right after we left, there was somebody attacked a camper by a grizzly bear and was mauled. This was back in the 80s. When we got back from this trip, I opened TikTok and there was news of 2 hikers being mauled by a grizzly bear in Yellowstone. The next day, we had to go out of town, my husband and I, on a trip, and I opened TikTok and it said an update on the hikers who were mauled by the grizzly bear on Mystic Road. What? Even Uncle Mike was like, okay, now that is weird. We really nailed it home about that song, Into the Mystic. Yeah. Next night, my husband was watching his show he watches every single night. And when I came in and sat down, one of the panel people had a shirt on. And it said something that I have not heard since I was little. The Regal Beagle. I'm sorry. What? If you're not familiar with what the Regal Beagle is, it was the bar featured often on, drumroll please, Three's Company. But it was this. This is what had me, allow me to explain. Friday night, we had gotten some of my favorite clients. No, he's like a brother to me. An accepted offer on a house. And I was so grateful and so thankful. And this was around 9 o'clock at night. I was in the restroom and I said, Father, thank you so much that they got an accepted offer. Oh, Abba, thank you, God. I was like, ooh, sorry. Thank you, Yah. And the conversation began between me and my father. God. My whole life, your whole life, we've been told it was God and Jesus. Only to find out that their names are Yeshua and Yahuwah. Now, God, I get it, is the word for Elohim. El Elyon, the big God. But there's always something sneaky about the enemy. And here's just how the conversation went. Wait a second, Abba. In God we trust. One nation under God. A nation built by, what one can only imagine, was very powerful men. And with that, they don't really particularly care for our Father. No, they care for somebody else. Allegedly, okay? Do you know who Gadriel is? No? Gadriel is a fallen angel. G-A-D, I think it's R-I-E-L or R-E-E-L. Don't quote me. But it's Gadriel. In fact, in the book of Enoch, it explains that Gadriel was actually the serpent that beguiled Eve. Yeah, the more you know. So on the $1 bill where you have the pyramid and the all-seeing eye and in God we trust, and the little owls, also another very symbolic thing, not of our religion or of our Father. I said, Father, when they say in God we trust, were they meaning Gadriel? Simple question to my father. That's how conversations work. Left the bathroom, popped back in next to Uncle Mike, and he turned on the show. In 50 years almost of being on this planet, I have never seen a single human being with the name God, G-A-D, ever. And in the time it took for me to just walk from my bathroom to being next to Uncle Mike again for him to turn on the show, they introduced this man, and the way I screamed. No, I screamed. Because they introduced this man using his name, and his name was Gad. Seconds after I had that conversation with my father and asked for confirmation, literally seconds later, I see this guy, Gad. Yeah. The very next day it happened again. I made a video about this alien disclosure, and in my video, you know when you say a word too many times, it almost doesn't sound like a word anymore? I had said that I had seen so many UFO videos on my FYP at a certain time, I had become desensitized. I don't like the video, but I was like, desensitized, desynthesized, you know, it just didn't seem like a word. I wondered, did I say it right? Got up off the couch, went to go potty, opened up the old TikTok to a video of a movie clip, a movie I've seen before, a movie that, whoa. Although I don't recommend watching demonic movies anymore, after my followers a few years ago said, Auntie, you need to watch Nefarious, I'm really glad that I did. But it's a movie I've already seen before, so typically I'll just keep scrolling when something said, wait. As I was waiting, I was saying it to myself, desensitized, desynthesized, because no longer did it sound like a word. As I was doing that, boom, there it was. Said it. Desensitized. Yeah, not a word you hear all too much, let alone as you are literally saying multiple different versions of it out loud, trying to figure it out. There it was. Again, just the same as before, and enough time to talk to my husband, go a few steps to the restroom, and then boom, instantly, there it was. The other night we were at my mom and dad's house, and my brother and his family were visiting, and we started to talk about the cruise ship and the hantavirus while my dad was reading our local paper. Dad said, oh, that's funny, because I was just reading an article about it. I mean, okay. Odds are pretty good. So there's one of those synchronicities. He really enjoys games like this. I guess you could say I get it from my dad. But then it got weirder. My husband is taking me to Mexico, and we found out they have a very strict law against vape. $12,000 fine and up to 8 years in prison. According to them, you cannot vape in Mexico anymore. Dad's a little hard of hearing. He said, what are you guys talking about again? He knew, but he wanted confirmation. I said, vapes. Like, stop it. Look at the article I just started to read beneath the hantavirus article. Hantavirus? And then Dad was on what? Flavored vapes. I was explaining after that why my nails were purple, a color I don't often do, because it is the highest heavenly realm color, and I wanted to rock it on my birthday. Mom stood up and said, whoa, look at this. The other night, my husband and I started talking about a dear friend of mine from high school, her and her husband, because they helped with our class reunion. We need tables for my niece's graduation party, and the next day I got something in the mail. A birthday card from them. Yeah. The other day I made a video about the son's teeth being set on edge for the father's eating of sour grapes. The next morning, my husband and I were sitting on the couch. He said, did you see Billy Bob Thornton's interview? Apparently he has some sort of health issues. He can barely eat anything. And his favorite treat is grapes dipped in Dijon mustard. I'm sorry, but what are the odds of that? Whoever eats that? Those would be sour grapes. I was thinking about a gal on a show we were watching who had a double mastectomy, and I was thinking, I bet she has nipples tattooed on. 2 seconds later, she said, my nipples are tattooed on. In the wee hours of the morning, Sunday morning, Saturday night, I guess my son had gone out with his friends. He sent us a text. 2 seconds later, he texted us and said, you know what? Never mind. Just ignore that last text. Pretend I never sent it. I told my dad about this. He goes, that's funny because I was just singing. He said, I was literally just singing that song, Hello, Mother, Hello, Father. And then please disregard the letter. Yesterday, I was compelled to do a video about a vision I had in January. I shared with you guys about children being in mermaid costumes when I went downstairs. And lo and behold, yeah. The past few days, I've been getting nudges, signs that I need to share something very important that I have not shared yet. And I asked for confirmation. Yesterday, Uncle Mike bought me this for Mother's Day. Yeah. Instant synchronicities mean that you are right on track.